Joel, in Baton Rouge, Malik Nabers not winning the Linda Cup kind of frustrated some people, and Marvin's obviously a great player as well. Do you think he got snubbed, and how do you think he translates to the NFL?
Yeah, he translates beautifully. Malik is an incredible player, and his explosiveness is off the charts, really. When I was talking with Daniel about it, he's like, yeah, it looks like he plays with a jetpack on his back. And he does in so many ways. And I can tell you from experience, as a quarterback, if you have a guy that can do both of these things, one, relieve the offense, which means take the top off, right? Relieve the pressure on the run game, on the intermediate zones. That's incredibly valuable. When that guy also can catch a 1 yard pass and turn it into 60, that's just like icing on the cake, and he does both of those things. That's going to translate incredibly well, in particular as more creative play callers are taking over in the National Football League, more creative motions and formations. He's going to fit really, really well with that. As far as the snub piece, that's so difficult. You know, Malik had great players around him, and that's not a knock, but he also had a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. I didn't cover Malik. I covered Marvin a lot, and Marvin was the best wide receiver in college football. You know, he was the most complete and best receiver in the sport. I hate to say it so definitively because everyone's like, well, why do you hate Nabers? I don't. Nabers is really an incredible player, but I don't think he got snubbed.
Apologies if you already answered a little bit. You mentioned about Marvin. We heard you kind of gush about him in Ohio State.
Yeah.
But again, why is he such a complete receiver? And why are the NFL team will just be lucky to have him, especially in the top five?
Yeah, he does everything well. When I'm talking with Coach Hartline, and granted, I never played wide receiver, and so all I want from a wide receiver as a quarterback is, are you open on time and do you catch the ball, right? Do you provide those pictures? Now, what goes into that is incredibly nuanced. He does a remarkable job of communicating what he wants to communicate to the defender through his movement, through his detail, the leverage that he uses, and then he creates separation and catch the ball through contact. It's remarkable, and he does so even when everyone knows the ball is going his way. He constantly got the bulk of the coverage. He constantly got the best corner from the opposing team. His polish as a route runner and ability to finish and contort his body, it makes him almost uncoverable in a lot of ways. And there's a lot of great receivers in this draft. It's an incredible wide receiver draft. But to me, he immediately is a number one wide receiver that can win in the playoffs.
Joel, there's a separate question of, who is going to take him, and where is the best fit, or I guess what is that differential?
I mean, I still think Arizona is the spot, for him. They need help at that position. He's the best. Now, I will tell you, not every NFL team feels as strongly or is as convicted as I am with him as the number one wide receiver. There's a lot of teams that have Malik Nabers as the number one wide receiver. I don't know what Arizona is going to do. I would just love, part of me would love, I mean, maybe this is just the college fan in me, but part of me would love Arizona to trade with somebody and then the quarterback goes number 4 and Jim Harbaugh has to take Marvin Harrison Jr. I would love that. I mean, but again,
you're pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm a college guy.
What do you think?
Well, I remember you saying back when Marvin was a sophomore, you said this guy could be one of the best receivers in the NFL. What was it that you saw from Marvin in such an early on that made you confident he would get to this point?
Yeah, his catch competitiveness, his catch radius, and then I saw him as a worker. Every time I was in that building, he would be on the jugs gun catching the football, and then I would talk to his teammates and his coaches, and I would say all right, tell me about this guy as a worker. Tell me how he is with schematics. And every one of them, whether it was Garrett Wilson when he was there or Chris Olave when he was there, they all said to me, every one of them, the best player in our room is Marvin Harrison Jr. Even when they were there, when Garrett Wilson was there. So, why did I think that? Because of that. I trusted Brian Hartline and Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson and Jackson Smith and Jigba. When they told me Marvin was better than them, I believed them.
And you were at the Ohio State Springing a couple weeks ago. Just what are your impressions of this year's Buckeyes?
I think they probably should be the number one team in the country to start the season. The fact that they have questions at the quarterback position will prevent them from probably being the number one team in the country to start the season. And they'll start number 2 with legitimate national title hopes for sure.
Real quick, the Maserati Marv nickname.
Yeah.
Do you remember the origin of it, and did Gus ever explain where that came from?
No, Gus, shocking. Gus never explains his reasoning to me. I just hear it for the first time on the air with everybody else, which maybe people are surprised about that. So when he said it the first time, I was like, all right, here we go. Like we got another nickname. I never heard him contemplate Hollywood Brown before I heard Hollywood Brown on a 3rd down against Kansas State in Manhattan, Kansas. I was like, well, that sounds really cool. So no, I didn't. Never heard the origins. He's never told me about it. But I can tell you this: Marvin's a hell of a player, and I know Gus loved covering him, and I did as well.
Joel, you mentioned the quarterback question at Ohio State. Just what are your impressions of Will Howard from watching him over the years?
So Will is incredibly steady, and his size allows him to, I would say, negate numbers, in particular in the run game, and that helps. Now, is he the most dynamic guy? No. I don't think he is, but he is a steady player. His teammates loved him. He makes good decisions. He throws it better than I think people give him credit for. And you would have to at least tip your cap. Like, he beat that TCU team. He won the Big 12 championship game. So he's won a championship. I think that type of pedigree and experience pays dividends in a locker room.